Happy New Year's Eve. Last day of 2020. Everybody's ready to get rid of this year. And Todd and I decided to stay home this evening and be safe and enjoy a nice meal and evening in our home together. One of Todd's favorites is meatloaf and carrot cake. So I'm going to be making a meatloaf recipe that I've used for a long time, and then I'm also going to be making a lentil loaf, which is a vegan recipe, and then some mashed potatoes with a vegan gravy, and last but not least, our favorite carrot cake. This recipe was given to me by my friend Sheila, and it always turns out great. It's easy to make and it's delicious. So I hope everyone is having a safe and wonderful last day of 2020. And here is how we made our dinner. The first thing that I'm going to get started on is the lentil loaf. I'm using the high carb Hannah recipe for this. It's on her blog. I'll put a link to it in the description, but I'm not giving out her recipe because I know she worked hard on it. So the first thing that you do is cook the vegetables and then add the lentils and all the spices. Put in a little bit of better than bouillon or just use vegetable broth. I make my own with the better than bouillon and then just add hot water to that. So this takes about a half an hour to cook. So while this is cooking, we're going to get started on the meatloaf. And here you see, again, I just have some spices, Worcestershire sauce. I soak about a half a cup of oats in milk or cream to help with the consistency of the meatloaf and hold it together. And then there's an onion and garlic and some other seasonings that I'm going to dump in here. And of course, a little squirt of good old ketchup. And my one-handed egg skills have kind of, gosh, I need to work on these. So if you want to leave those eggshells in there, they're high in calcium. If you want to pick them out, that's up to you too. I'm going to go ahead, since it's a holiday, and pick them out for Todd so he doesn't have to eat them. And then we'll form this into a loaf pan, put a little ketchup on the top, and time to start the carrot cake. Like I said, this recipe was given to me by my friend Sheila, and basically it's a basic carrot cake with, flour, some shredded carrots, a bunch of spices, cinnamon. I've always been told that if you're going to be cooking with fruit or vegetables in your recipe, like with scones, muffins, or a bread like cake like this, you always want to coat your vegetable or fruit with a little bit of flour first, and it helps it stay consistent throughout the recipe. And then, of course, if you want to add nuts, you do that right at the end. And then pour it into a couple of cake pans, which I don't have any cake pans, so I'm using pie tins. And since my oven is full, I decided to give my air fryer a shot. It has a button on it that has a picture of a cake, so who are we to argue? Let's give it a shot and see what happens here. Oh shoot, shucks, I shut it off. Just have to wait a second. Well, there's how it's doing. Oh, that's probably a good thing. I think I'm going to switch them around. Now that I have the meatloaves and the cake cooking, it's time to get the frosting ready. And when you make a frosting, the first thing you do is really want to cream together your cheese and butter until it gets really light and fluffy. Look at here, I dropped this whole dang thing in the... I almost edited that part out, but hey, this is real life. You don't need the whole thing, just a little squirt or drop. I love adding almond flavoring into my baking. I think it always adds just a fun extra little flavor that you can't quite place, but it just adds a nice little flavor to things. And You really have to blend frosting for a long time. I cut out over half of the video time of the blending of the frosting, but you can see here you slowly add the sugar to the seasoned butter and cream cheese. And then I tasted it, and I had put in a little bit too much lemon juice. So I'm going to add a little bit of maple syrup. Our maple syrup is we actually get our maple syrup from a friend of ours, the same friend that actually gives us our goat milk for our puppies. It's fresh and local, and their sugar house has an open fire in it, and it just has a delicious sweet, almost a little hint of smoky flavor. So I really love that syrup and things. The last thing that we need to get ready for our dinner is our mashed potatoes, garlic mashed potatoes. You can see I'm using one of our loofah sponges that we grew for cleaning our vegetables, and just smashing a couple cloves of garlic and putting it all in the Instant Pot. I put it on steam for 24 minutes, and it was way too long. The potatoes were pretty mushy when they came out, so I would put it down to at least 17 or 18 minutes so that your potatoes don't get so soft and mushy. And now, look at this mess behind the scenes. I wonder if everybody's kitchen turns out like this. Now that the meatloafs have been in the oven for a while, I'm going to make a little topping to put on top of them. It's basically some brown sugar, ketchup, coconut aminos, some hot sauce, and I had a little bit of extra fig jelly that we had used to marinate pork roast in. And so I'm just going to throw that in with this little mixture and see how it tastes. This video did not turn out well. I was trying to hide those dirty dishes over there on the counter, and I ended up cutting out what I was doing here, but I'm just making a topping and then putting it on the top of each one of the meatloafs. And I decided that the lentil loaf pan was pretty full, and so I put that on top of a cookie sheet to make sure that I didn't have any spillover. Now it's time to check those carrot cakes one more time. They're doing great in that Instant Pot, but this little squirt was being a little bit too quiet in the living room, and we can see why, because she found a chew toy that was not hers. And you can see that the other dogs are definitely not the best of babysitters, so I brought Rain in the kitchen to help me finish out our meal. And she says, yes, those meatloaves are done and ready. So we're going to go ahead and pull these out of the oven and just let them sit while I finish mashing the potatoes and getting the rest of our dinner ready to go. This is just a simple vegan gravy, and all I did was take some cornstarch, some different seasoning and spices, put them all together, and then brought them over to the stove, added in again. That's actually coconut aminos in there, not soy sauce, but I had that bottle, so it's handy to have. And then again, a little bit of the vegetable broth. I used the vegetable bouillon, and then just add hot water to it out of my tea kettle electric teapot. If you don't have an electric teapot like that, I would highly suggest it. Even if you're not a huge tea drinker, it's just so handy to have quick hot water ready to go when you're cooking. So just stir that around until it's nice and thick. And I realized at the last minute that Todd's going to want some corn with this, so I had a package of corn frozen in the freezer, and I'm just throwing it in the microwave, just heating it up 2 minutes, and it'll be ready. So these potatoes are ready, and I put the garlic cloves right in there. You can see them along the side, and I'm just mashing the whole thing together. We're going to mash these potatoes and serve up these meatloafs and the lentil loaf and see how it all tastes and how it all comes together. Duke is ready to eat. All right, Todd, let's see what you think of the vegan meatloaf. Would you eat just that?
Yeah, I think so. It tastes like a big bean burrito.
Does it? I can't wait to try it. And then you better taste the meat one just because I know it's really, really good and I want you to tell me that.
It is really good.
Cool. Good. All right. Well, here's our New Year's Eve dinner. Dinner was delicious, and now we're just going to grab a piece of that cheesecake and head on down and see the festivities on TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe to see what we're up to next, and have a happy 2021.